On a normal night out with friends, Ohio State medical student Brian Shaffer walked into a bar in Columbus, Ohio, and was never seen again. There was no signs of struggle, no known enemies, no motive, and somehow, in a bar filled with people and surrounded by security cameras, Brian simply vanished. The cameras captured him going in, smiling, talking, looking completely normal, but they never captured him coming out. Almost 2 decades later, investigators still don't know how or why he disappeared. No confirmed sightings, no financial activity, no trace at all. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most baffling and haunting missing person cases in modern history, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. Brian Randall Shaffer was born on February 11th, 1979, in Pinkerton, Ohio, a quiet suburb just outside Columbus. He was the elder of 2 sons born to Randy and Renee Shaffer, and was raised in a stable family environment. Brian graduated high school in 1997 and immediately went to Ohio State University, where he pursued a bachelor's degree in microbiology. By 2003, he had completed that undergraduate program, showing early academic dedication. In 2004, he began his studies at the OSU College of Medicine, embarking on his path to become a physician. Friends describe Brian as intelligent, quiet, but steady. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but when he spoke, you noticed. He played guitar, he had a tattoo of the stick figure Alive symbol from the band Pearl Jam on his right bicep, and harbored dreams beyond medicine. He once said he wanted to start a band and spend time in tropical locations, but life had also handed him emotional weight. In March 2006, during his second year of medical school, his mother Renee died of myodysplasia, a rare blood cell disorder. Although those close to him say he was coping well externally, the grief was real. His father later said Brian appeared tired the night he met him for dinner, worn out from both the late night study sessions and the emotional strain. At the same time, Brian was making major plans for his future. He was in a relationship with fellow medical student Alexis Wagner, and the two had booked a spring break camp trip to Miami for early April 2006. Many believe Brian intended to propose to Alexis on that trip. His car was parked, his apartment orderly, his upcoming vacation imminent. Everything seemed aligned for the next chapter. Despite the internal challenges, outwardly, Brian's trajectory looked strong. Med student, music lover, bright future ahead. But then, as the calendar turned April 1st, 2006, something changed. A night out with friends would be the last time anyone saw him. On March 31st, 2006, the night began completely ordinary. Brian had just wrapped a stressful round of medical school exams, and spring break had officially started. That evening, he had dinner with his father Randy at a local steakhouse. His dad later said Brian looked exhausted, emotionally from losing his mother just weeks before, and physically from school. But there was nothing alarming about his behavior. They talked about Florida, about the future, and then went their separate ways for the night. Around 9 p.m., Brian headed towards Columbus's campus nightlife to unwind. He met up with his close friend Clint Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a bar located in the South Campus Getaway, a busy entertainment strip packed with students and late-night crowds. At first, the evening was normal. The two shared drinks, laughed, and decided to hop from bar to bar along High Street. They made several stops. Places like Sloppy Donkey and the Arena District bars have been mentioned by friends. They weren't partying recklessly or causing trouble, it was just 2 friends celebrating the end of exams. Sometime after midnight, they met up with another friend, Meredith Reed, who picked them up, drove them around, and eventually brought them back to the Ugly Tuna for a final drink of the night. And inside, everything still seemed normal. Brian talked with people, ordered drinks, and moved through the crowd casually. At some point during the night, Brian separated from his friends. Some say he wanted to talk to a band that was playing, others say he just wandered away briefly, something not really unusual in a bar environment. Then, at 1:57 a.m., security footage captured Brian at the top of the escalator near the entrance, talking to 2 women. They later told police the conversation was casual, just small talk. In the video, Brian appears relaxed. He gestures, smiles, then steps slightly out of frame, still near the bar's entrance. And that is the final known image of him on camera. When the bar closed at 2 a.m., Clint and Meredith waited outside for him. They called, they texted, they scanned the exit expecting Brian to come down with everyone else, but he never appeared. Eventually believing he may have left on his own or called a ride home, they headed out without him. By morning, Brian wasn't answering his calls. His car was still at his apartment, and no one, not his girlfriend, not his friends, not his family, had heard from him. A busy bar, a crowded night, cameras pointed at every exit, and somehow, Brian Shaffer simply never came out. When investigators turned their attention to the video footage from the bar's security system, What they found deepened the mystery of Brian Shaffer's vanishing. The club, Ugly Tuna Saloona, was located on the second floor of the Gateway building, and although its front escalator entrance was covered by cameras, there was a secondary exit, less visible, more obscure. The primary route, patrons entered via the ground floor lobby, rode up the escalator to the second level, and exited the same way. The cameras captured Brian going up, but critically they did not capture him coming down. According to Columbus police, someone riding the escalator downward would have been clearly visible, yet Brian never appears on that footage. Beyond that main exit, there existed a staff service door, adjacent to a construction zone and freight elevator shaft. This back passage had limited surveillance. It led to a short hallway and then out to the street via a temporary exterior door connected to the construction area. For investigators, this was the only plausible path for Brian to leave the building without being caught on the escalator camera. So the key questions emerged. Did Brian slip out via the back staff construction exit? Did he change his appearance, a hoodie, hat, jacket, to bypass the camera? Did someone else escort him out that way, or did Brian leave alone? If he left the front exit, why didn't the camera capture him? How did his phone, car, and personal belongings all remain untouched? Investigators went back to the footage repeatedly. One of the lead detectives later stated they were 100% certain Brian did not leave via the escalator exit. Yet no clear footage tracked him exiting through the back either. A camera was located in the corridor, but it was manually operated and panned constantly, not monitored full time. Among the theories considered, a disguise theory, perhaps Brian put on a hat or a jacket, or borrowed a friend's coat to obscure his face as he exited. Investigators considered this, but found no change in visible wardrobe or bags on him. The construction exit theory, maybe in his intoxicated state he stumbled toward the less obvious door, veered into the construction hallway, and left the building undetected. But detectives believe the route was poorly lit, cluttered, and difficult even for sober people, which raises questions about the plausibility of this scenario. And then there's the rooftop emergency exit possibility. Some early investigators considered whether Brian might have accessed a service elevator or rear stairwell leading to a roof or alley, then vanished into the night. No firm evidence supports that path. And then there's foul play in the building versus voluntary walkout. Because Brian's phone and car remained at his apartment 6 blocks away, and his banking activity halted, it seems unlikely he simply slipped away for a fresh start. All these lines of inquiry converge on one chilling fact. A man exits a crowded bar, surrounded by cameras and people, and walks into thin air. One of the building's exits is documented, and one is almost blind. Investigators ended up focusing every effort on the uncertain interior corridor. As we move into the next chapter of this story, the search, the roadblocks, the dog teams, and the human toll, we carry this haunting truth. The last confirmed visual of Brian is on camera. Everything else is darkness. Once detectives confirmed Brian never appeared on any exit camera, the case shifted from confusion to urgency. The first step was a physical search of the Gateway building itself. Officers swept the bar, the back hallways, and the construction area. Every storage room, stairwell, and maintenance space they could access. Nothing. No sign of struggle, no dropped personal belongings, no blood, no clothing fiber, nothing that suggested Brian ever made it out, or that anything happened to him inside. From there, the search expanded outward. Police, volunteers, and eventually trained search and rescue teams canvassed the surrounding area. They checked dumpsters, parking garages, alleyways, storm drains, and nearby construction pits. Hospitals were contacted, shelters were checked, students across campus were questioned. Officers even used infrared technology to search rooftops, worried Brian might have fallen or become trapped somewhere out of sight. Search dogs were brought in, and one of the most puzzling clues emerged. Multiple handlers reported that the dogs traced Brian's scent out of the bar, down to the street, and then toward a nearby Wendy's restaurant, before losing the trail entirely. Whether that means he made it that far on foot, or whether the scent was interrupted by vehicle movement or contamination, has never been definitively explained. As days passed, investigators dug deeper into Brian's digital footprint. His bank accounts, cell phone, and credit cards showed no activity after that night. Not a single transaction, call, or ping. His car was still parked at his apartment. His glasses, medications, and passport were untouched. It looked less like someone preparing to leave, and more like someone who fully intended to come home. Police reviewed surveillance from nearby businesses, traffic cameras, and neighboring bars. They examined hundreds of hours of footage. Friends, classmates, and patrons from that night were re-interviewed. Nothing pointed to a fight, a threat, or a planned disappearance. There were no signs Brian was in trouble, no known enemies, no recent erratic behavior. As days became weeks, Brian's family took their search public. Posters went up across Ohio. Billboards appeared, media outlets covered the story, volunteers handed out flyers, walked riverbanks, and checked wooded areas. The Olentangy River and nearby waterways were searched repeatedly, but still no trace. Through it all, Brian's father Randy refused to give up. Every week, he recorded a voicemail message to his missing son, the same message broadcast publicly. "Brian, we love you, please come home." For 2 years, Randy searched relentlessly, always leaving porch lights on, always returning to the Gateway area hoping to find any sign or witness he may have missed. Tragically, in 2008, Randy was killed in a freak accident, still without answers about his son's fate. Before his passing, he wrote online, "If Brian was alive, he would have found a way to reach us." And for many investigators, that single sentiment is what keeps this case so haunting. A healthy young man disappears from a crowded bar on a busy street, and no trace has ever emerged. Which brings us to what this case always returns to, the theories. How does someone vanish in front of cameras, friends, and crowds? Accident, escape, foul play, something stranger? And which explanation, if any, truly fits the evidence? So after rumors, theories, exhaustive searches, and countless hours of investigation, we're left with one of the most baffling disappearances in modern history. No confirmed sightings, no digital footprint, no remains, no closure, which brings us to the sobering reality and where this case stands today. Today, Brian Shaffer's case remains open and unsolved. Police have never closed the file. They still encourage tips, still revisit the footage, and still follow credible leads as they come in. But after all of these years, there's been no confirmed sighting, no communication, and no physical evidence of what happened to him. For Brian's family, the disappearance never became a cold case in their hearts. Brian's father, Randy, searched relentlessly until the day he died in 2008, always hoping for one more clue, one more break, and one more chance to bring his son home. His greatest wish was closure, an answer that never came. Brian's brother and loved ones continue to hope that someone, somewhere, knows something. Even after nearly 2 decades, they believe the right person could step forward, that one phone call could finally end the silence. And if you have information, Columbus Police and Central Ohio Crime Stoppers still accept anonymous tips. After all this time, investigators believe even the smallest detail could matter. And that is where the case stands. A healthy, promising young man walks into a bar on a busy street and is never seen again. No body, no evidence, no goodbye. A mystery suspended in time, waiting for the truth to surface. And so we're left with the question that's haunted this case for years. What happened to Brian Shaffer? Was it misfortune, heartbreak, foul play, or something none of us considered? And now, I want to hear from you. What do you think happened to Brian? Drop your theory down in the comments, and let's talk about it. If you're new here, and you enjoy deep dive true crime mysteries like this one, be sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and lets me bring you more cases just like this. And if by any chance, you know something, no matter how small, that could help Brian's family finally get answers, contact Columbus Police or Crime Stoppers, because after all these years, even one overlooked detail could change everything. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some mysteries aren't unsolved, they're just waiting.